So, you know who I'm interested in is the guys out there who are trying to buy those 100K content sites on Flippa or what's it called? Empire Flippers or acquire.com. They're out there buying content sites, e-commerce stores, YouTube channels, things like that. And there's a ton of these properties for sale, and they're for sale at really good multiples too. But yeah, it's such a trap to look at these and say, I could buy a YouTube channel for okay. It's already monetized. All I gotta do is nothing, and I'm gonna earn money, right? Or let me buy this old content site that's been making money and just turn that into cash flow. And hey, I could buy a couple of these, and now I'm good, right? And I can keep working my job, and make a little bit of side money, right? No, that's not how it works at all, because there's domain renewals, there's support emails. Who's running support? Who's maintaining the website? Who's posting fresh content? Because if your site is making money off of eyeballs and you don't post content regularly, those eyeballs are going to stop coming. If an algorithm changes that's underlying your app, or Amazon changes their product, there goes your Kindle publishing revenue. You got to fight, even in a small business, to keep it from trending down. So, there's a reason why people usually buy $5 million businesses instead of 500K businesses. Also, why people don't usually buy 50K businesses. It's because it's not really worth it to put in all that work. And again, people think these things are passive. They say it's passive. That's how you're sold. But the reality is that any entrepreneur knows that whatever company you run, whether it's $1K a month or $100 a month or $1 million a month, that company lives rent-free in your head day in and day out. And that's just being an entrepreneur. So, that's just one property, right? Now, what I do think works is the people who are doing roll-ups with micro acquisitions. The term is micro acquisition, right? Because we're talking companies under 4K. So in order to do a micro acquisition, you have to identify a niche, and there has to be enough businesses to buy. I really like Empire Flippers. I think they do a great job of cutting through the crap and making sure that, these are actually decent websites that you can buy. But, Flippa's good too, right? There's a ton of good ones. So you buy one, you centralize the operations, you use a password manager, you keep track of all that kind of stuff. There's customer support. You got to hire a team, whether it's a part-time freelancer team, or maybe you can even afford a full-time team. You need a team. But the thing is, when you have 10 content sites, now you can hire a content marketer, and it's actually going to make sense. So once you bought 5 or 6 or 7 or a dozen, you can start raising money, because you now have a little roll-up. What's a roll-up? It's a bunch of companies in one holding company. I think this is really cool. But again, running a roll-up of content sites or YouTube channels or whatever, it really is a job. It's a startup. So if you're willing to do that work, then I think that's a great thing to do. And I personally would love to invest in you to do that. So, if you know anyone who is doing, they're looking to buy their first content site and they want funding, I'm interested in that. But I'm only going to do it if, you have the preparation, the mental preparation and the plan to not just buy one of these sites, but to keep going. And so I think once you buy 10, you can start going bigger. You can buy, instead of 50K, 100K sites, you can start buying 500K websites, and you can grow, into a company that manages a ton of properties. And there's so many things you can do with all these eyeballs, right? Because most of these are, they come down to content or something like that. I think if you own all these content properties, you can start doing really cool things with partnerships. You basically are your own ad network. So I think that's really cool as an investor in small businesses. I think that Flippa and sites like that are very untapped for investors, actually, and for people doing roll-ups. I think it's a specialized skill set. I think 97% of people who want to buy a small business have no business doing that, because it's a brutal process. It costs a lot in, legal fees and diligence fees to actually do an acquisition properly. You have to have a company, a holding company, and that costs money. You have to have accountants to handle each entity. Just the expenses add up, right? It's not just like a simple thing. It's not an investment to go buy a site off of Flippa. But what I am interested in and what I'm doing is I'm investing in the people who do these roll-ups, the people who are buying 5, 10 of these, and then they're growing them and they're utilizing them in smart new ways. So in order to do that, someone has to be a really good marketer. And I think a lot of people want to buy a company because they don't want to work. But actually, I think if you're going to buy an internet-based property, you probably want to be a good marketer. Probably the best way to become one is to do your own brand, launch your own thing. But let's say someone's figured that out. They're a good marketer. Well, now you have to learn the basics of business administration. So if someone jumps over that hurdle and they learn how to, run a holding company with 5, 10 companies inside of it, even small ones, I think it's a great test run for getting into, entrepreneurship through acquisition, ETA, right? Because man, if someone like went out and bought 10 companies on Flippa or Empire Flippers or something like that, and they rolled them up and they ran that for 2 years, then I think they could easily raise millions from investors on that track record. And they probably would do a great job buying $2 million marketing properties and growing a massive holding company. So really excited about this model of micro acquisitions. I'm personally, interested. I have SMB Investor Network, which, mainly I run Search Fund Ventures, which is more of we invest in big acquisitions. Like when I say big, I mean 5 to 20 million. That's small by PE standards, but it's big compared to Flippa sites. So that's like what my fund does. But SMB Investor Network, we syndicate these deals. So, we can actually syndicate someone buying a $500,000 company, not just the 5 million. So I'm really interested in this for SMB Investor Network, is helping investors build portfolios of these small acquisitions, right? As well as big acquisitions. I think, you can have so many pieces of equity in so many companies. And I think it's just a great way to build your career. I wouldn't want to do anything else, but, buy companies, advise on companies, get equity. And that's what we're doing over at SMB Investor Network, is we're giving people that ability to do an advisory position and get equity, or to do a fractional CTO or a CMO position or whatever and get cash, and to do work on companies that you're also investing in. So it's a way to get into running your own holding company. And so I think in the future, everyone's going to run a holding company and they're going to have equity in dozens of companies. And when I say everyone, I mean every nuevo entrepreneur, right? And so that's the model I want to help bring to the world is, you're an entrepreneur, you do some services, you have a portfolio, you invest, and you just build this portfolio. But the difference is, instead of investing in startups where, we're all just waiting, praying for exits and just like waiting for VCs to fund things, and most of them fail. Instead of that, it's like we're buying like a real cash flowing newsletter, or, a manufacturing company, or a car wash. I mean, there's so many different types of small businesses. And so I think people get really focused on one particular type of small business. But as an investor in SMBs, I like to kind of cast a wide net for myself and say, like, there's so many different types of companies I could invest in. Why not build a portfolio with, some e-commerce companies, some, a cafe, a B2B HVAC company, there's so many different things, right? So I think it's really interesting. And again, I think that the syndication technology that we're building over at SMB Investor Network, which allows people to invest in small ways into these deals, is really just going to open up a new world of people making these types of investments. So I'm really excited about it.